everyone. So, this week for our discussion, we were encouraged to respond to one of the two discussion prompts this week. So, the first discussion prompt involved William James's philosophies and how he made a lasting impact on the field of psychology. The second prompt was related to functionalism, and those who chose this prompt were encouraged to discuss a couple criticisms of functionalism and to explain how a functionalist would respond to these criticisms. I feel like this week the discussion amongst my group centralized around the William James prompt. However, there were a few peers that chose to discuss functionalism and its criticisms. A few takeaways from this discussion this week are the following. So, the first takeaway that I have was one peer's discussion post on William James. She said that William James's focus on individualism led to his belief that although circumstances shape individuals, these individuals then act on the world to shape it. And I really liked how she phrased that. I feel like she really summed up his beliefs surrounding individualism really well. And then, as this peer mentions, James could be described as an empiricist, as he believed experiences and reality were difficult to separate. And I really liked that she kind of brought that into her discussion because that relates to previous topics that we have discussed. And then she also said that James also held strong beliefs regarding habits, which are still believed to be true. This peer stated stimulation follows the path of least resistance in living tissue. Thus, a joint once sprained before becomes more vulnerable to future stress. And I found that example to be a really great application of James's beliefs surrounding habits. This peer wraps up her discussion on James with a focus on just how much James contributed to the field and his pushing the boundaries of what could be studied under the umbrella of psychology and how. As she states, James left us with a legacy that monism is but a hypothesis, and he encouraged us to pursue alternatives, which I thought was a really great way to sum up James's lasting legacy on our field. And then another post that I found interesting was one peer's focus on functionalism and its criticisms. So functionalism, as this peer mentions in her discussion, was meant to emphasize functions of mental processing and guiding behaviors, which I thought was a really excellent way to define functionalism. One criticism of functionalism, as this peer mentioned, is that it was thought to be lacking with regards to scientific justification or rigor. Functionalism is reliant on observable experiences and applied psychology, as opposed to following like a strict scientific method approach. But just as this book, our textbook mentions, and this peer mentioned in her discussion, functionalism refused to be restricted by the narrow conception of the scientific method. Another criticism of functionalism that this peer mentioned was that it was lacking theoretical unity. The broadness of functionalism had other researchers of the time questioning its validity. However, as this peer stated, this lack of unity formed the extensive framework under functionalism to be full of diverse topics and perspectives. And I really liked how she phrased that, through functionalism's broadness, it encouraged a more broad approach to studying things. Overall, I feel like there were a lot of great discussion posts this week, but the ones that I mentioned were those that I found interesting, and the peers who made really great points with regards to William James and his contributions, as well as functionalism and its criticisms and how a functionalist would respond.